This is Bob the Science Guy, and today it's part 2 of our 5-part episode on Eric Dubay and the projections of the flat Earth. Today we're going to have a look at the question, why would people lie to us about the shape of the Earth? Why is there a great conspiracy to hide the true shape of the Earth? So let's cue up the music and have a discussion on why they would lie.
So the next one, once you've disarmed them and they realize, oh yeah, he is a flat earther, regardless of what he calls himself, their next anti-flat earth defense mechanism will be, why? But why? Why would they lie? The incessant mantra of the ball earther. But, why would they lie? It's not even a question. It's a defense mechanism.
But is it a defense mechanism? My argument is no. I would think that if you had this worldwide conspiracy that was designed to hide the shape of the Earth, there would be a purpose for it. You know, honestly, do any of us really care what the shape of the Earth is? No. Does it affect my day-to-day life? No, not really. I use it for certain things like navigation in an airplane. But in reality, you know, my cat thinks the Earth is flat. He's quite happy with that, just running around looking for other cats. It doesn't matter to him. Why would it matter to us? There has to be some sort of ulterior motive behind a conspiracy theory. So that's a legitimate question. Why would people lie to us about the shape of the Earth? If the Earth was flat, why don't we have hundreds of years of science demonstrating how to navigate on a flat Earth, demonstrating what the location and composition of the dome surrounding the Earth is, coming up with alternative explanations for gravity, for the Utvos effect, for how gyrocompasses work? We would have to develop an entire new branch of science that was flat Earth science. You know, we could easily go through all of that. What is the point to it? What's the end game that we have? One of the things that I've heard, and I'll leave it to the viewers to decide if they've heard this as well and whether or not it's a legitimate concern. The main goal of hiding the flat Earth is to hide the existence of God, because a flat Earth would mandate the presence of a creator, a God. Whether that's a legitimate concern or not, I would say no, because the existence of God is a matter of faith. It's not a matter of science. Science tells us how we navigate over the Earth. It tells us the composition of our Earth. It doesn't say anything about our belief in a higher power. Likewise, belief in a higher power does not require evidence. That's the entire purpose of having a belief. But we'll go ahead and continue.
They haven't researched the evidence for an alternative shape of the Earth for even a minute, but suddenly they want to know the motive for this lie. Yeah, right. This isn't a genuine question. Imagine a detective rolling up to a crime scene and there's blood all over the place, bodies everywhere, stinks to high heaven, and little deputy rookie volunteer rocks up behind him, taps him on the shoulder, and says, what do you think the motive would be for a crime here? I'm not seeing why.
Now, once again, we're looking at the superficial understanding of flat Earth here. The question of that scene that Eric described was not whether or not murders occurred or there was some sort of a massacre. The question is, why did it occur? Because who the victims are and possible motivations that people would have to come in and do an act like that may aid the detective in finding out who did it. You know, many of us have watched crime shows, and one of the things that is put out on a lot of these shows is the most difficult murders to solve are the random killings, where the attacker has no interest or connection with the victim. They just drive down the street and pop somebody. How are you going to find that person? So if you want to claim that there's this worldwide conspiracy perpetrated by them, whoever they are, you have to try and figure out, well, what's their motivation for doing it? That will give you clues as to who's doing it and how they're doing it. Simply claiming that asking why is a pointless question shows the lack of understanding of how conspiracies occur. And what they're doing is they're claiming a conspiracy here. So if you're going to claim a conspiracy, there has to be an end game to that conspiracy. Discovering what that end game is will help you determine who's committing the conspiracy. Now let's just follow that up with one thing, and that is the flat earth is a conspiratorial movement. It's the result of conspiratorial thinking, and with the advent of social media and YouTube, it has a very small following. But like any movement, there are followers, and there are people that kind of lead the movement, such as Eric Dubay. What's Eric Dubay's motivation for promoting the flat earth? Is it financial? Is it personal recognition? Is it stroking his ego? These are questions that we have to look into, and they're legitimate questions.
The detective looks at him, squints his eyes, waves his hand, shows the blood on the walls, the bodies on the floor, asks the rookie genuinely, "Are you not seeing this? Do you not see the evidence all around you?" And the rookie, as if blind to the crime scene, unable to research or open his eyes long enough to see any of the evidence, just impotently continues on, asking, But why? When people ask you, but why would they lie about the shape of the earth when they haven't even researched the evidence whatsoever? That question is not a question. It's a defense mechanism. And if somebody is just asking you a question as a defense mechanism, you're not required to give them an answer, nor is it in your best interest to try and give them an answer. Because why are they asking you that defense mechanism question in the first place? Because it's such a huge and open-ended question, and you are not the one who's lying, so you couldn't possibly explain the motive of the liars, even if you knew it to the finest detail.
That at least gives us an idea as to who's doing it, because who would gain the most by denying the existence of God? That narrows down our list of suspects. Just like looking at the motivation at a crime scene can help narrow down the list of suspects. But we'll continue.
Therefore, regardless of what answer you give them or how good it is, they're just waiting for you to open your mouth so they can laugh and scoff at whatever answer you try to give to their impossible question. But why would they lie? People who ask this question are unaware of just how prevalent lies have been and continue to be throughout history, in all facets of society, in the media, in government, in history, in science. The lies are everywhere.
So you see, Eric's got a couple of things that are going on right now. He's trying to first project the inadequacies of the flat earth onto the rest of us. And second of all, he's reinforcing this conspiratorial thinking that his followers have already bought into. Anybody in power is lying to you. Therefore, never trust anybody in power on anything, including something as basic as the shape of the earth. I'm not in power. I demonstrated the curve of the earth in my backyard using an auto level. Could people just accept that and realize that, well, there it is. I can do this too. Let me check my location to see if it bends for me as well. No, they had to come up with 15,000 different excuses. They didn't like the way I calibrated it. They didn't like this. They didn't like that. They said it was refraction perfectly balancing the curvature of the earth. The elaborate reasons that they come up with to try and counter even basic evidence is just amazing sometimes. Very creative is the way I look at it. Very creative.
And anyone that's going to ask you, but why would they lie, is obviously a mainstream media believing conformist sheeple who hasn't got the slightest idea of how the world actually works.
You know, one of the things that we talked about recently is the hero's journey, which is a classic storytelling technique. You see how he's using that here? You're a special person that's destined for greatness. People will try and hold you back from your destiny. Don't let them do that because you're special. Buy one of my t-shirts.
And trying to hold their hand and explain to them the entirety of history and politics and conspiracies that have been hidden from them is an impossible task. As they say, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
You know the other old saying? You can lead a flirt to knowledge, but you can't make them think. I think that there's an element of truth in both of those.
You can lead humans to standing bodies of level water, but you can't make them understand that they're impossible to bend. So when ballers chant their "why would they lie" mantra at you, don't feel obligated to try and dish up some answer that's somehow going to satisfy these insatiable people. If they really cared, they'd be looking into it as deeply as you are.
But you see, Eric, that's the problem. We have looked into it, and we falsified any concept of a flat Earth. I mean, the surface of the Earth is curved. We can demonstrate that a number of different ways. My videos on Mount San Jacinto, the measurement of the curvature in my backyard, these are all absolute proofs that the surface of the Earth is curving. Yet you'll continue to say that water is always flat. You actually even argue that level and horizontal are parallel to each other when they're clearly not. We can demonstrate that with no problem at all. But you cannot accept that because it's in violation of your narrative. So here's a good example, this meme that you've got flashed up on the screen. Why would they lie? What would they gain? Well, NASA's budget is $19.3 billion. And what do we get for it? Well, first of all, $19.3 billion out of the budget of the United States of America is less than 0.5%. It's about 1/3 of 1%. So it's really nothing. I think that they probably spend more on paper clips throughout the government of the United States than they spend on NASA. Second of all, what did we get? Well, we went to the moon. We had a space shuttle program. We're currently in the International Space Station doing research and making breakthroughs in science. So that's well worth it. Not to mention the fact that NASA is not just about space travel. It has to do with icing and anti-icing measures on aircraft in flight. It has to do with a variety of aviation subjects. So we get an awful lot of information out of that. And don't forget the side benefits of the space program. We learned a great deal from our exploration of space. We've not only learned a lot about Earth science, but we got technology such as cell phones and water purification systems. These are all things that are important in our day-to-day lives here on Earth. So yeah, we got a lot of bang for our buck with that. Not to mention the fact that we beat the Russians to the moon, which makes the Cold Warrior inside of me all warm and fuzzy. But let's go ahead and continue.
And instead of that question being some flippant defense mechanism, it would be a genuine question, like it is for you or me. I can list dozens of reasons why they would lie, and I have in other videos. But just realize that this barrage of questions that ball earthers throw at you are more defense mechanisms than genuine questions.
Well, that was an interesting discussion because, like the detective at a murder scene, understanding the motives of the murderer helps you track down who that murderer is. Now, we apply that in the flat earth by looking at the motivations of those that would hide the truth of the flat earth from us. What are their motivations? What is their end game? And if we can discover reasons for this from the flat earth community, perhaps we can track down who is actually doing all of this. Now, in our next episode, we're going to talk about a possible group that's doing this, and that is the Masons. Eric Dubay seems to have an issue with the Masons. So let's go ahead and see what he has to say in our next episode. In the meantime, hit hit that like and subscribe. I'd like to have your support for this channel, and I'll see you again next week. Take care, folks.
Mama, please make them hear me, or I can't teach them anymore. This rabbit hole's too deep for me. Feel my brain getting real sore. Above the science guy, above the science guy.